In that case, I'm off, Miel added sarcastically. I know when I'm not wanted. Your life must be a series of departures. That witty exchange occurred between two characters in a fantasy horror novel. The first is Mial la Mial, an aspiring bard and pickpocket, and the second is Parl Dro, a ghost hunter who has the supernatural ability to peer into the spectral dimension to see ghosts and spirits that others cannot. These two characters are featured in the 1980 novel Kill the Dead by Tanith Lee, and I'm here to tell you why you should read it. Welcome to PhD&D, everyone. I'm Dr. Bowers, and this is another episode in that series, Use This Source, where I talk about bits of forgotten literature and suggest how you could use them to enrich your tabletop role-playing experience. Despite its brevity, Kill the Dead is one of my favorite fantasy horror novels. And for two reasons. First, Tanith Lee is an uncelebrated and expert poet and wordsmith. Every sentence drips not only with rich ornamental language, but with incredible world-building ideas. Here's an example. The dead who lived, like the mirror image, right hand in reverse, tended to attack leftward or sinister, which made the hearts of men very vulnerable to them. Think about that for a second. The idea that the undead are anti-people. They're the opposite of people. And since people are predominantly right-handed, it would make sense that the undead are predominantly left-handed, like mirror images. But us human beings, well, we have hearts beating on our left sides. That's where the undead would strike then. So the very fact of the undead being reverse mirror images of the living means that their attacks would be particularly focused on our hearts. I love it! It's great! When Parl Dro walks into a tavern and sits down at the bar, Lee describes how the other patrons shift and then resettle like grass touched by a breeze. I cannot tell you how many times I've used that expression when describing what happens when some adventurer in one of my campaigns saunters up to the bar and has a seat. The other patrons shift and resettle like grass touched by a breeze. It's beautiful, and every sentence in this novel is like this. More than the language, however, or maybe equal to the language, I'd like to talk about the ideas that the language expresses. In Kill the Dead, Tanith Lee presents an amazingly interesting metaphysics of ghosts, which I think improve on the ghost monster stat block that we get in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. In Kill the Dead, a ghost is nigh invulnerable. No, invulnerable until their root or their anchor is destroyed. Every ghost is hooked to the world by some physical object, some thing that they cannot part with, and until that thing is destroyed, the ghost remains. It doesn't matter how much you strike it with magic or with sword, the ghost will be there until its anchor is destroyed. It could be that a ghost is particularly attached to a toy, like a doll or a teddy bear, for instance. Or it could be that a ghost is attached to a certain place, their home or a particular church. In order to kill the ghost, you need to find out what it's anchored to, do some research, and then destroy its anchor. The ghost itself, of course, will defend its anchor and put up quite a bit of resistance and danger in the meanwhile. This is much more interesting than just walking up to the ghost and casting magic missile or whatever it is that you would do. Better than this, however, is also the fact that Lee plays with the question of what could really count as a physical anchor. Toys and other former possessions, of course. Physical locations, naturally. But what about a song? Could a ghost be attached to a song? And until that song is forgotten and erased from every page in history, the ghost will still exist? Maybe. Or what about another living creature? Could that be an anchor? And what of the fabled city, Geist Mortua, an alleged city of ghosts where the entire city is anchored to something? What could it be anchored to? Lee raises and puzzles over these questions with her characters throughout the entire novel in a very intriguing way, with some interesting plot twists that would put a lot of modern fiction with plot twists to shame. Whenever I have a ghost in one of my 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaigns, or when I'm playing in another system, my ghosts are the kinds of ghosts that you find in Tanith Lee's Kill the Dead. They have no hit points, they have no armor class, they have no magic vulnerabilities. Heck, in many cases the clerics can't even turn them with Turn Undead. Instead, it's all about their anchor, the mystery of what binds them to this mortal coil. It's not just a cool idea from Lee's book, it's also a cool idea from a book that's full of interesting examples of this idea. Examples which build upon and play with its presuppositions. If you like fantasy horror, especially of the Ravenloft variety, I cannot stress this enough. Get this novel, Kill the Dead by Tanith Lee, and read it. Use this source. That's what I've got for today. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to do all the internet things. Click like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell icon if you want notifications on new videos from this channel. And thanks. Happy New Year.